seize opportunity. If you're considering diversifying a retirement account with precious metals, tax and penalty-free, now is the best time to call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Our milder stretch is coming to an end, increasing cloud cover overnight, temperatures falling into the 60s, and then we're watching Friday for some scattered showers and the occasional rumble of thunder. With this, it keeps our high temperature near 79 degrees. The rain is a bit heavier overnight Friday into Saturday. When all is said and done, many of us will see around a half inch of rain, but there will be some pockets of 1 to 2 inches possible. Saturday cranks up the heat, and then we have a triple-digit heat index in the forecast on Sunday. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Window World of St. Louis. For replacement windows, doors, and siding, call 800-GET-WINDOWS. That's 800-GET-WINDOWS.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
There's an old way to get ready for college, and there's a snooze way. Parents spend thousands of dollars on tuition, books, laptops, and everything their student needs to succeed. But one of the most important investments is often overlooked. Sleep. A college student who sleeps well is more alert, more focused, and better prepared for the challenges ahead. At Snooze Mattress Company, we use advanced pressure mapping technology to help match every student to the right sleep system. Give them an advantage they'll use every single night. When you sleep better, everything gets better.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story when I was a bull rider, but why I can't ride a mechanical bull.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Overnight, American firepower hit Iran for a 12th straight night. In Iran, striking back at U.S. military targets in Kuwait. The U.S. Central Command said the strikes are meant to stop Tehran from threatening commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Revolutionary Guard claimed a tanker that tried to slip through caught fire on a mined route and warned any ship that defies Tehran will, quote, meet the same fate. Now, President Trump's stark new threat. Every time Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait, the U.S. will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant.
406, and welcome into the Thursday, July 23rd edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Amazing that this month is almost over. 7 more days. August will be here before you know it. And, of course, August is the primary month, August 4th. A lot of big elections happening in around the state. And, of course, we'll be voting on Amendments 4 and 5. If you're watching live on the live stream, you see that my partner Tim Jones is not in the studio with me today, and unfortunately he won't be joining us. He is still in Orlando, Florida at the ALEC meeting. So today it'll be me and our extraordinary executive producer, Joey V. Joey V, how are you, my friend?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for inviting me to today's show, Chris.
Joey, we couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without you. Before we dive into all of these big news stories today, it is Thursday, and you know the audience is waiting with bated breath on what your movie review will be tomorrow. We're going to give them a preview.
Did you know that The Odyssey came out and blew everyone's minds and is making all the money
Where have I been?
That means that there is no studio brave enough to put out another movie this week. They're scared. Nothing has competed with The Odyssey, so I had to scrounge the depths of streaming television to find something to review, and it looks like Apple TV has a brand new movie about pickleball that comes out tomorrow. It's called The Dink. You ever play pickleball?
I have not. In my mind, pickleball is for people that are a little older than I am.
Well, it's fun for all ages because it's so easy. And dink is a type of move in pickleball where you get close to the net and you just kind of tap it over gently instead of swatting it as hard as you can. So this movie, it is called The Dink in honor of one of the most famous moves in pickleball. It's a comedy along the lines of Happy Gilmore. I'm going to review that Friday at 5:45.
And Dink is not 3 hours long?
No, it is 1 hour and 40 minutes, and there are no big pranks with a giant horse with people inside dying because they're drowning from their own feces and poop. But you need to go see The Odyssey, but there is feces inside that horse.
There is the preview, Joy. We'll be previewing Dink, a movie about pickleball that is premiering on Apple TV. We'll have all that, of course, tomorrow at 5:45 for Joey's B's Movies. You heard that clip coming in. This is the 12th day of consecutive strikes on Iran. The targets that are being reported, they struck Iranian military capabilities, missile and drone storage facilities, and coastal surveillance infrastructure. It's also reported today that for the first time since the fighting has commenced again, that the U.S. military used B-1 long-range bombers, and those were used to strike targets connected to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. So as the president promised, he said that we're going to hit them harder and keep hitting them harder every night until they capitulate. These B-1 bombers, of course, they carry 2 dozen 2,000-pound bombs, and they can also carry a dozen cruise missiles. The president said on Truth Social yesterday, he said, quote, "I am considering a massive attack bigger than ever before. I am close to making a decision. We are all set for it. There's no timeline or final call yet." So the president warning Iran that if they don't open back up the Strait of Hormuz and get a little handle on their proxies, the Houthis in Yemen, they're closing down an important waterway in the Red Sea to cut off oil shipments from Saudi Arabia. President is promising to hit them even harder. I've also read reports that the military is bringing in more airplanes into the Middle East, long-range bombers and long-range aircraft that can fuel those bombers. So it looks like things are beginning to heat up. Speaking of the Houthi militants, they struck 2 Saudi ships yesterday. They're trying to blockade, or they are blockading, as I said, the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. Of course, we know that 20% of the oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, 7% of global oil passes through the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. And, of course, those hostilities have created an oil spike once again. Today, oil was above $100 a barrel. I think we reported a couple of days ago that the national average for gasoline is back at $4. Also, too, regarding this Iranian war, Jordan said that its military targeted 4 Iranian military missiles and drones over the past 24 hours. They also intercepted drones and missiles from Iran as well. And Iran is continuing to attack infrastructure, which they said they would if the United States attacks their infrastructure, that they're going to attack infrastructure in their neighboring countries, Kuwait, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and also the Arab Emirates. For the second time, there was a House resolution vote yesterday, and it did pass. 4 House Republicans joined the Democrats to pass this War Powers Act. Those 4 House Republicans were Tom Barrett from Michigan, Warren Davidson from Ohio, Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, and, of course, Thomas Massey from Kentucky. There was a War Powers resolution vote also in the Senate yesterday, but it failed 47-49. Very close vote, but that did fail. We know that Senator Tom Tillis, he is retiring from, he's a senator from North Carolina. He is retiring. He is not going to run again for re-election. mainly because he didn't want to be primary. The president is at odds with him. He said that for him, his patience is running out, even though he voted against the war resolution. He said that he's going to give the administration 7 more weeks. He said September 10th is the magic day for me to have a very different posture, he said. He said, it will have been 60 days since the White House said war for the first time. So very close vote in the Senate, 47-49. The Thomas Tillis said that he is running out of patience. I think many Republicans are also running out of patience as well. I think that, I think the Republicans in the Senate and the House, and of course in the House overwhelmingly, I think that they overall support this war effort. As Tim and I have discussed many times, we have been basically at war with Iran for the last 47 years. They've been a thorn in our side. Of course, 1979, they took our hostage for 444 days. They call us the great Satan. They call Israel the little Satan. They are trying to acquire nuclear weapons. We found out during the last dust-up in this war that they have a greater missile capacity than they said they had. They were struck a United States base there. I can't think of the name of it. I think it was in the Indian Ocean, show that they have far more capability than we originally thought. I think Americans support, most Americans do support the war. They do support the fact that that Iran shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. I think where people's patience seems to be running out is what is the plan to end this war, come to a satisfactory conclusion. We are also hearing that even though Iran and the United States are back fighting again, that the peace efforts to try to end this war are still going on. There was something on the table the other day about another 10-day extension. I think we talked to Randy Tobler about that. That's on the table. Personally, I don't want to see any more extensions. I'm not a bloodthirsty hawk that wants to see war, but I think when you're dealing with people that are fundamentally evil and are at war with the United States for the past 47 years, diplomacy is not something that's going to work in this case. The only thing that they understand are missiles and bombs, and one of the main premises of war is you have to destroy your enemy, take away their capability to fight, and take away their will to fight. We have not done that yet with Iran, but we are a far more superior power than Iran, and we've been urging here, Tim and I, that it's time to finish the job, that Iran is not going to capitulate. They are telling their people and us, the world really, that they have won or are winning this war because the United States is still fighting them. And in their minds, as long as they can hold out and not give in and can close the strait and still send an occasional missile into their neighbors' countries, to them, that's a plus. They are winning. So a lot is going to be happening here in the next couple of days and few weeks regarding this war. Stay tuned, of course, to News Talk STL. We will always give you the latest on the war effort. Also, big news yesterday in the House. We talked with Congressman Bob Onder last week, and I told him how there were 4 specific bills that needed to be passed before the August recess, and was there going to be enough time for that to happen? Well, they did pass this bill yesterday. There are 3 major bills. They passed this is the House now. They passed the annual defense policy package. They passed a bill that bans lawmakers from trading stocks. And they passed a budget resolution for reconciliation 3.0. Those are all major things that need to be passed. But, and it's been said many times, and the President Trump has said this himself, that the Senate seems to be the place where things go to die. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is not at all enthusiastic about a 3.0 package. He said that he wouldn't move the House budget blueprint that passed yesterday until the Senate solves the upcoming budget crisis, funding crisis. As you know, September 30th, October 1st begins the fiscal year for the United States. There is talk that passing a continuing resolution to keep the government funded through the midterms. That's what Senate Majority Leader John Thune wants to focus on. He does not want to focus on Reconciliation 3.0. The reasons for that is that if the Senate does take up the Reconciliation 3.0, there aren't the votes in the Senate to pass that right now, unfortunately. And also, if it was to pass, John Thune is worried about the Democrats adding amendments to Reconciliation 3.0 that would be kind of embarrassing votes for the Senate. He's trying to cover for some of his more vulnerable members. One of the examples that he cited was in budget Reconciliation 3.0, there was $12 billion, in that for farm aid, which is something that that seems to be something that should be bipartisan. But Senator John Thune is worried that the Democrats could place amendments on Reconciliation 3.0 with a farm bill added to it that would talk about how SNAP benefits have been cut. And so that would be a very tough vote for vulnerable members in the Senate. Do they vote for this bill? And then they have to vote against the Democrats' bill amendments talking about the cut in SNAP. So that very, very tough situation there. We are glad that reconciliation has passed the House, but it looks like it has a very uphill battle in the Senate. Senator John Thune does not have any interest in that right now. He wants to pass a budget or a continuing resolution to make sure that the government is funded through October 1st. So a lot going on in Congress, a lot going on in the world, a lot going on the show today. It's Thursday, and of course, we'll speak with Steve Bucci. He's the visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. We'll ask him about the latest developments in Iran. We'll also ask him about the latest developments in Ukraine. Ukraine seems to have changed their war strategy. We'll ask him about that. Chris's Corner at 4:45. You may have heard about this. New Jersey has just made the case for election integrity. It was determined that 6,000 non-citizens were on the voting rolls, and I think the reports are that 400 of those people actually did vote. At 5:06, we'll speak with Scott Faughn. He's publisher of the Missouri Times and host of This Week in Missouri Politics, which you can hear right here on this station. We'll talk to Scott about the big legislative headlines of the day, and since he is on his Ford 150 tour, he'll be in St. Louis tomorrow. We'll ask him, as he goes about the great state of Missouri, what are the good folks saying about the August 4th ballot questions like Amendment 4 and Amendment 5. He has his finger on the pulse there, so we'll get his thoughts. And then with 5:23, we'll speak with Jay Town. He's a legal analyst for Newsmax. We'll talk to him about the Senate Judiciary Committee prepares to vote on Todd Blanche's nomination. A couple of senators are kind of hedging and saying that they may not vote for him. That's John Cornyn and Tom Tillis. And we'll ask him about this report that came out today. House Representative Chair Jim Jordan is sending a referral to the Justice Department on Jack Smith. If you remember that, he was the special prosecutor that was investigating the president, and it was revealed that he had the contents of emails of a number of United States senators. One of those senators was our own Josh Hawley. So we've got a lot to talk about, and of course, we'll tell you what's coming up on Larry Connor's USA at 6 o'clock. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Our milder stretch is coming to an end, increasing cloud cover overnight, temperatures falling into the 60s, and then we're watching Friday for some scattered showers and the occasional rumble of thunder. With this, it keeps our high temperature near 79 degrees. The rain is a bit heavier overnight Friday into Saturday. When all is said and done, many of us will see around a ½ inch of rain, but there will be some pockets of 1 to 2 inches possible. Saturday cranks up the heat, and then we have a triple-digit heat index in the forecast on Sunday. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup.
Sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Ford 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
Hungry at midnight? Craving a home-cooked breakfast at noon? At Gingham's Homestyle Restaurant, we've got ya 24 hours a day. For 35 years, folks have been coming back for our famous fried chicken, bone-in catfish, country fried steak, slow-cooked pot roast, scratch-made pancakes, or a slice of homemade pie. Daily specials and a loyalty rewards program that actually pays off. There's always a reason to come back to Gingham's Restaurant in St. Charles. Skip the wait. Join our wait list on Yelp or at ginghamsrestaurant.com.
Let's get real. Here's the truth about eliminating Missouri's income tax.
I'm here with Camelia Peterson from Americans for Prosperity. And Camelia, I've heard that if we pass Amendment 5, that could actually lower local taxes. How would that work?
You know, one of the most overlooked parts of Amendment 5 is that if the sales taxes bring in extra revenue for local governments, they have to reduce other local taxes. This could mean lower personal property taxes. It could lower your real property taxes, and it could also lower your sales tax at the local level. And even for Kansas City and St. Louis, it could lower their earnings taxes. The goal isn't to make government bigger. It's to modernize the tax system while giving taxpayers relief at both the state and the local level.
Learn more at afpmissouri.com.
Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Guys, I saw Arachi, their foreign minister, who the other day say or something about their policies, an eye for an eye. The president's policy is a head for an eye. They are suffering billions of dollars in damage, and their economy is a disaster. But despite all that, okay, these people who are calling us every day, begging, let's do a deal, they send us messages through other countries, third countries. The problem is, every time these people do a deal, they either break it, or after they make it, they want to change the deal. So they're probably not ready to do a deal yet, but they will be soon.
Steve Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes. What were you about to ask me? Do you expect me to talk?
Steve Bucci, good afternoon. How are you, my friend?
Looks like we got disconnected, but he's on the line right now. Let's see. Try it.
Mr. Bucci, how are you, sir?
I am well. How are you?
Good, good. We just had a little technical difficulty there, but we are ready to go. Steve, a couple weeks ago, I did a commentary here asking if Iran was trying to pull a November surprise like they did in 1980 against Jimmy Carter with this feigning like they want to negotiate and just trying to string us along. It looks like that possibly the November surprise came in July. Your thoughts, sir?
I don't know if it was as big a surprise as maybe they thought, but, there were lots of people, and I'm not bragging, but including me, who said, these guys are not good negotiating partners. I think I've said it before. I admire the president for wanting to use negotiations to do this, but you can't trust this particular regime. They lie, they dissemble, they delay. They're constantly trying to manipulate, and we're back to the stick. The carrot didn't work. We're back to the stick. I think that's, where we need to be to move this thing down the field, and hopefully we'll get there.
Speaking with Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, we have heard reports that the military is bringing more equipment back to the Middle East. We also had a report today that since the first time since these hostilities have resumed, the U.S. military used a B-1 long-range bomber. Tell us, what are the capabilities of that bomber, and why did we use it?
Well, the B-1 has the capability of dropping the large, deep, you call them massive, deep penetrators, really big bombs that they drop from tremendous height. They're pinpoint, GPS located. They hit the ground and don't explode right away. They just go way down into the ground and then at a set depth, they detonate, and they're designed to take out facilities that are buried deep in the ground. Frankly, much like a nuclear weapon would, but without having to use nuclear technology in the particular piece of ordnance, with all of the other stuff that comes with it, radiation and heat and all that kind of stuff that's sort of messy and causes a lot more collateral damage. So that's what they're for, and that's what we used them for in the past in Iran, and it looks like we're doing that again, this time going after the so-called Pickaxe Mountain, which may be where Iran has moved some of its centrifuges for effort to continue their enrichment of uranium, and that's got to stop.
Steve, unfortunately, last weekend we lost 4 U.S. service members in an Iranian missile attack. There has been talk that Russia and possibly China have been giving information to Iran so that they could strike those facilities more accurately. There was a report in Reuters today that said that Iranians have also struck CIA facilities in the Middle East. What should we do about that, and how can we sanction Russia and China from not help or get them to not help Iran in their strikes?
Well, we can put more diplomatic pressure on them. We can put more economic pressure on them. And both those countries will vehemently deny that they did any such thing. But we know they've been helping Iran probably in lots of ways. Given intelligence as to actual locations, I'm guessing that they may have given them a hint. Hey, we think the Americans are right here. Based on our technical intelligence, the Iranians will probably have confirmed that with human intelligence sources, either people they've paid off or IRGC spies that are in these different countries. Most of the other countries we're talking about don't have the kind of internal repression that you find inside Iran proper. So we all have applauded the Israelis for the spies that they've had inside Iran. Getting a spy inside Kuwait is a lot easier than getting a spy into Iran. So if they've accurately targeted some of our folks, that's really unfortunate and a tragedy for the loss of our troops. But they've been trying hard, shooting lots of stuff at us and at our allies over there. And this is a very, very small number, and at least 1 or 2 of those actually were doing an operation to try and destroy a drone that had been shot down. So it's not like they really killed 4. They probably killed 2. And that's a tragedy. I'm not saying that's not important, but it's not like they suddenly have a giant qualitative leap forward. So we probably should make Russia and China pay some price for it, probably economically at this point, but then keep hammering Iran.
Steve, the administration signed 2 agreements with Saudi Arabia yesterday, allowing private U.S. companies to export nuclear energy and technology. A lot of folks are worried about nuclear proliferation there in the Middle East. Are you concerned about that? And we've also learned that the president said that there will be conditions on that technology, that Saudi Arabia will have to join the Abraham Accords and normalize relations with Israel.
Yeah, and that when I first heard about this, that was the first question somebody asked me was, well, gee, you think they'll be required to join the Abraham Accords? I think this is something that, because the Saudi leader, Mohammed bin Salman, who's the crown prince, and he'll be the king when his dad passes away, he is a modernizer. He wants these connections, but he does have a lot of resistance within his country to, working directly and actively with the Israelis. This may be the vehicle through which, he says, well, look, we couldn't have gotten this nuclear deal for our energy consumption if we didn't also do the Abraham Accords and normalization of our trade and relations with Israel. Gee, I'm sorry, but we had to do it. We just couldn't pass this up. So this is, I think, in overall a positive development. While I'm with everybody else, it makes me nervous whenever a new country starts getting nuclear power. But I think in this case, the Saudis under Mohammed bin Salman's leadership are a good bet to do this, particularly because we're going to build the facilities. We're going to be helping them run the facilities. We're going to have complete access to the facilities. And frankly, it's a lot harder to hide things in Saudi Arabia than it has been in Iran because of the different topography in the two countries. I think this is a good bet that, much akin to the Japanese after World War II, who they eventually had the capability and the technology to build this stuff themselves, but they said, look, we want this so we can be energy independent. America, we don't want the capability to build nuclear weapons. We've seen what that does by being the target. You guys give us a nuclear umbrella. We'll just do this for our energy needs, and we'll try and help you in other ways. And they have done that and been very loyal in that agreement. I think the Saudis are going to be in the same boat because they really are more concerned about Iran than the Israelis are, frankly. And this will hopefully keep them from having to seek a nuclear device, that they will keep it just in the energy sector. And I've had some people say, well, what do they need that for? They've got all that oil.
Exactly. I was going to ask you that.
Well, but you can't generate electricity that efficiently with oil. Oil gets processed into gasoline, other petroleum products, and gets sold, but it's not really that great for electrical production. You need, to have a long-range capability, time-wise, you need the nuclear power plants. So I think overall this is going to work out beneficially, particularly if it gets them locked into the Abraham Accords and normalization with Israel.
Steve, when you think about terrorism these days, you think of Hezbollah, Hamas, of course, Iran, which is a major state sponsor of terrorism. Al-Qaeda is not a group that you hear too much about, but we're reading that the Trump administration is considering military strikes in Mali targeting an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group known as JNIM. Who is JNIM?
They are obviously an African-based Islamic group, Sunni, but Salafist, the really, hardcore return to the 7th century kind of Muslims. on the Sunni side, much like the Iranians are on the Shia side. They have continued to oppress Christians in Mali just the way they have in Nigeria. It's a pretty dire thing there because the Mali doesn't really have the capability to fight them. So I think we're going to go in there and give them a little help, take out some of the leadership of that organization, and hopefully tamp that down again to keep that branch of al-Qaeda from blossoming back up and into an even bigger threat.
Speaking with Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, I want to shift to Russia. Ukraine has changed their military strategy a bit. They are now starting to hit Russian vessels. They hit 11 Russian vessels in the Sea of Azov. That is a vital waterway for Moscow. We're reading that Russia is now receiving shipments of fuel from India. Russia has banned the export of diesel following these Ukrainian strikes. How effective do you think this will be long-term for them, and can they keep doing this?
Well, the Ukrainians are, they've shifted the lines there in the war in Ukraine by taking the fight to the Russian people, hitting targets in Russia, hitting ships in Russian-controlled waters, all using primarily drone technologies, both maritime drones, undersea drones, land-based drones, that crawl across the ground, as well as the more well-known aerial drones. And they're getting longer range. They're getting better capabilities to penetrate Russian either territory or airspace or sea space. And they are really, frankly, putting a hurt on the Russians. So there's a lot of talk that Putin is under great pressure to either finish this or end this. I don't think he has the capability to finish it. So hopefully he's going to get to the conclusion that, hey, I better end this because it just didn't work the way I thought it would. And that's due to the bravery and the ingenuity and innovation of the Ukrainian military, but also from the help that's finally coming in a little more steadily from Western Europe, the part of Eastern Europe that is now in NATO, and from the United States. I think our position is shifting to, we realize Putin is the problem, not part of the solution, and we've sort of given up on him being a good partner. We're finally starting to realize some of these bad guys, they don't make good negotiating partners. And Godspeed to Ukrainians. I hope it gets there sooner rather than later.
Steve, we know for years that the Chinese have tried to assert their dominance in Asia and in the Pacific. They've built artificial islands that the countries around them are saying are illegal. A report is that the U.S. Coast Guard is sending ships that were in the Middle East. They have been redeployed to the Singapore and Philippines. I want to get your thoughts on that. And why are we sending U.S. Coast Guard ships instead of destroyers?
Well, the Coast Guard does have a wartime mission of assisting the Navy. They also use them in peacetime, even though they technically still belong to the Department of Homeland Security. They're seconded to the Navy for these missions, which are designed to emphasize the freedom of navigation. Sometimes we do that with Navy vessels, but when you're getting closer to shore, it's a good idea to use the slightly smaller Coast Guard vessels. It gives their folks a ton of training. They are better equipped to do these littoral kind of missions closer to shore, and they're really good at it. And so we use them. We've always used them that way periodically. We don't move like the entire Coast Guard overseas, but there are ships that get sent over. When I was the attaché in Tirana, Albania, we had Coast Guard vessels, American Coast Guard vessels, visit us there. They also had Coast Guard officers and men training with the Albanian Navy, which frankly looked a lot more like our Coast Guard force than it did our big, expeditionary Navy that we have all over the world. So the Coasties are capable of doing these kind of missions. It allows the Navy to keep some of their other vessels, the destroyers and frigates, in areas like the Red Sea and the Med, where they're needed to combat the problems there in Iran.
And final question for you, Steve. U.S. Space Force carried out a military exercise in orbit recently, and they said it was intended to test the force's ability to get a satellite into orbit at short notice. How far away are we from seeing actual warfare in space, do you think?
Well, if you're talking about, like space fighter planes chasing each other around and shooting each other down like in Star Wars, it's still a ways off. If you're talking about attacking satellites or other craft that are in space, we can do that now. We've got adversaries that can do that now. The Chinese regularly practice. They'll put up a satellite and then they'll shoot it down just to show that they can do it. Our intercontinental ballistic missile defense system, the stuff we have to shoot down other people's ICBMs, they can do it on the launch phase inside the atmosphere. They can do it on the reentry phase inside the atmosphere. But the big strength is being able to hit the ICBMs when they are outside the atmosphere, traveling around the curve of the Earth. We have the capability of sending up interceptors that can shoot down those missiles. So in a sense, there's already warfare out there in space, just not quite as cool as Star Wars, and nobody's given the pilots lightsabers yet.
And that's Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org, on X, S. Bucci. Steve, thank you as always for your wisdom and insight. Have a great weekend, and we'll speak with you again next Thursday.
Absolutely. Have a good week, and God bless.
Thank you, my friend. 444, Chris's Corner, New Jersey just made the case for election integrity. I'll tell you all about that next on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Our milder stretch is coming to an end, increasing cloud cover overnight, temperatures falling into the 60s, and then we're watching Friday for some scattered showers and the occasional rumble of thunder. With this, it keeps our high temperature near 79 degrees. The rain is a bit heavier overnight Friday into Saturday. When all is said and done, many of us will see around a half inch of rain, but there will be some pockets of 1 to 2 inches possible. Saturday cranks up the heat, and then we have a triple-digit heat index in the forecast on Sunday. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? If it is, Royal Banks of Missouri is the kind of place that you want on your side. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a rate and send you along the way. They actually work with you through the whole process to buy your home, and that matters because there's no call center, there's no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you're already in your home and you've been thinking about making it better, a backyard upgrade, a patio, maybe finally taking that family trip you've been putting off. Well, that's where a Royal Banks of Missouri home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. Hey, it's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. Give Royal Banks a call today at 314-212-1500, or you can visit royalbanksofmo.com to get started. Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in our communities one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
You work hard, follow the rules, and get absolutely slammed by taxes. Your paycheck taxed, your property taxed, everything you buy taxed. Missouri's tax system isn't broken, it's rigged against you. The lawyers and lobbyists working for big corporations and the super rich buried over 200 loopholes for themselves in our tax code. While they pay nothing on the services they use, working families are taxed over and over. It's no wonder they're lying about Amendment 5. Our corrupt tax system is rigged in their favor. They're getting a free ride on your back. Don't believe their lies. The truth is, Amendment 5 closes loopholes exploited by the super rich and slashes taxes paid by Missouri's working families, phasing out income taxes and cutting property taxes. They finally pay what they owe while you keep what you earn. Vote yes on Amendment 5, paid for by Missouri Promise PAC.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Every summer, homeowners make plans: a new grill, a backyard project, a family vacation. But what about the upgrades you could enjoy every single day? Your windows drafty, difficult to open? Your patio entry door has seen better days? Now's the time to make a change. Renewal by Anderson makes replacing windows and doors simple. Beautifully crafted products, professional installation. And right now, save big. Get $1,000 off your patio or entry door and take $400 off each replacement window. Call 877-WINDOWS or visit renewalbyanderson.com. 877-WINDOWS or visit renewalbyanderson.com. Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports. And she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Chris's Corner, brought to you by The Dental Link on Manchester and Baldwin or at dentallink.com. Follow Chris Arps on Twitter at Chris_Arps.
Want to get you to some breaking news now out of New Jersey, where the governor there says the state's DMV apparently accidentally registered thousands of non-citizens to vote after a software glitch. About 400 of them went on to cast a ballot. Here's Governor Mikey Sherrill explaining how it happened.
Some individuals indicated that they weren't citizens and weren't eligible to vote, but the software registered them anyway.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
For years, we've been told that concerns about non-citizens voting are overblown, that it almost never happens, that our election safeguards work, and that anyone who proposes stronger safeguards, voter ID, proof of citizenship, better voter roll maintenance, must have some ulterior motive. Then comes along New Jersey. Democratic Governor Mikey Sherrill revealed that a serious software error in the state's Motor Vehicle Commission system resulted in roughly 6,600 people being registered to vote, even though they had indicated they were not United States citizens. Let me repeat that. These individuals reportedly answered no when asked if they were American citizens, and the system registered them anyway. Then comes the part that should get everyone's attention. According to the governor's preliminary analysis, fewer than 400 of those people actually voted. Now, New Jersey officials say this was a software error. Governor Sherrill says these people were registered through no fault of their own, and there's no evidence that this was some organized conspiracy to steal an election. Fair enough. But that doesn't make the story less concerning. It makes it even more concerning. Because if you believe New Jersey's explanation, you don't need some massive conspiracy to put ineligible voters on the rolls. All you need is a broken system. And that's exactly why election safeguards matter. Yet when Governor Sherrill was asked about President Trump potentially pointing to New Jersey as evidence of vulnerabilities in our elections, she turned the conversation toward Trump. She said Trump has zero credibility on election integrity and accused him of undermining America's faith in elections. But Donald Trump's credibility isn't the issue. New Jersey's voter registration system is. This is what frustrates millions of Americans about the election integrity debate. Whenever someone discovers a vulnerability, the political conversation immediately becomes about Donald Trump. How about we talk about the vulnerability? 6,600 people registered despite indicating they weren't citizens. Hundreds apparently casting ballots. If those facts don't justify a serious conversation about how we verify voter eligibility, what would? Republicans in Washington have been pushing the Save America Act, which would require documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections and identification when casting a ballot. Critics say those requirements could make registering more difficult for some eligible American citizens. That's a legitimate issue to debate, but New Jersey just demonstrated the other side of that debate. What happens when the safeguards we already have fail? Because here's the question I keep coming back to. If someone tells the government, I am not a United States citizen, and the government registers that person to vote anyway, exactly what safeguards stop the mistake? Apparently nothing. And if it happened to thousands of people in New Jersey, is it unreasonable to ask whether similar mistakes could happen elsewhere? That's not election denial. That's not conspiracy theory. That's called learning from a failure. We require identification and verification for countless important activities in American life. Opening certain financial accounts, getting government benefits, boarding an airplane, yet somehow, when Americans suggest strengthening citizenship verification for something as fundamental as choosing the people who govern the country, we're told the very discussion is dangerous. I don't buy that. You don't strengthen confidence in elections by telling Americans there's nothing to worry about. You strengthen confidence by making the system worthy of their confidence. And here's where I think both sides need some perspective. Republicans shouldn't claim that 400 potentially illegal votes prove every allegation of widespread election fraud. They don't. But Democrats shouldn't claim that because 400 votes probably didn't determine an election, the problem doesn't matter. It does. The standard cannot be, don't worry, there weren't enough illegal votes to change the outcome. The standard should be, we built a system designed to prevent illegal votes from being cast in the first place. Because every American citizen, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, should be able to agree on one basic principle. Every eligible citizen should have an easy access to the ballot. Every legal vote should be counted, and only eligible citizens should be voting. New Jersey gave the country a real-world example of what can happen when the system fails. Instead of arguing about Donald Trump, maybe we should fix the system. Because the question isn't whether 400 votes changed an election. The question is why hundreds of people who were apparently ineligible were also able to vote at all. And if we don't answer that question now, we shouldn't act surprised when Americans start asking a much bigger one, can we trust the system? And that is Chris's Corner, and I ask you to follow me on X at Chris_Arps and on Facebook at Christopher Arps Politics. Want to give an update. Next week, you may not know this, there's going to be a St. Louis County Executive Candidate Forum. It's happening Wednesday, July 29th at 7 p.m. It's going to be held at the St. Louis County Republican Central Committee headquarters. That's located at 794 M Gravois Bluff Road or Boulevard. It's going to be the St. Louis County Executive candidates Dennis Hancock, Angela Mosley, Brian Williams, and Jake Zimmerman. They have all been invited. They have all accepted except Brian Williams. So hopefully he will do that before next week. And it's hosted by me, your very own Chris Arps. If you'd like more information, call 314-398-6667. All St. Louis County voters are encouraged to attend. All right, coming up, we're going to speak with Scott Faughn, publisher of the Missouri Times. We'll get his thoughts on the ballot amendments that are going to be voted on August 4th. We're going to speak with Jay Town at 5:23. He's a legal analyst for Newsmax. We'll ask him about the Senate Judiciary Committee vote on Todd Blanche's nomination for Attorney General. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Turn yourself around. Turn yourself around.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincent's.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers. Vincent'sJewelers.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job.
Let's Go Brandon PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Chris Foss, Treasurer.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Cap Pastrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too. On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
News, analysis, opinion. News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. More restrictions are being placed on the press when it comes to the U.S. Navy.
The U.S. Navy will no longer release information about the service history of sailors. That information, such as units they've been assigned and awards they've earned, had been available for decades. But officials say there have been increased security threats and harassment concerns. Last week, the Office of the Chief of Naval Personnel removed all public-facing information on its commanding officers. A spokeswoman says there will be exceptions if the sailor is a public figure or if there are extenuating circumstances. The changes are among a host of new press restrictions, largely driven by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Donna Warder, Washington.
A key Republican lawmaker says he believes that Special Counsel Jack Smith may have made false statements to Congress while testifying about his investigation of President Donald Trump. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has more.
Ohio Republican Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, referred Smith to the Justice Department for possible prosecution related to closed-door testimony about whether he had obtained records of lawmakers while investigating President Trump's investigation of the 2020 presidential election. The referral, sent Wednesday, centers on a December 2025 exchange in which Smith asked about subpoenas that prosecutors had issued for the toll records of some Republican lawmakers as part of the investigation. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Tropical storm Bertha has made a second landfall near the Texas-Louisiana state line, ending its slow crawl across the U.S. Gulf Coast. The National Hurricane Center said Bertha should weaken rapidly over land after its center comes ashore Thursday about 75 miles northeast of Galveston, Texas. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 506, the Nasdaq dropped 553, the S&P lower by 90. More at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
When I was feeling the stress of too much credit card debt, I looked at two different options: debt settlement and debt management. They may sound the same, but guess what? They're not. Debt settlement seemed like a quick fix, but I found out it would destroy my credit, create tax headaches, and hit me with huge fees. They actually told me to stop paying my bills. No way, not me. Then I turned to a debt management plan developed by the team at Trinity. They worked with my creditors, lowered my payments, reduced my interest, saved me thousands, and paid off my debt. And Trinity is a Christian company, which is important to me.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Our milder stretch is coming to an end, increasing cloud cover overnight, temperatures falling into the 60s, and then we're watching Friday for some scattered showers and the occasional rumble of thunder. With this, it keeps our high temperature near 79 degrees. The rain is a bit heavier overnight Friday into Saturday. When all is said and done, many of us will see around a half inch of rain, but there will be some pockets of 1 to 2 inches possible. Saturday cranks up the heat, and then we have a triple-digit heat index in the forecast on Sunday. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Trisha Burns never answers the call. Trisha Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Trisha Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Trisha Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the suicide prevention hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Trisha Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Trisha Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bullpack paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
I just would like to get your comments on that. I'm so glad that you're on the radio, and I want to thank you for that.
I'll tell you why.
101.9 and 94.1.
I love these people.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Nobody stands up. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
For starters, it's an off-year election, so there's no race for governor or attorney general. Plus, the 2 U.S. Senate seats are also not on the ballot this year, with the only candidate on the statewide ballot being the race for state auditor. Outside of that race, though, there's a lot of money being spent on campaigns across both sides of the political aisle, including 3 contested congressional primaries underway. However, statewide, all eyes won't be on a candidate, but rather the proposed constitutional amendments that will appear beneath them on the ballot.
5:06 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. You know, it's not every day, Joey, that we're able to get a media mogul on the show. We've had Chris Ruddy from Newsmax on the show before. We have another media mogul on the line. He is Scott Faughn, publisher of the Missouri Times and a host of This Week in Missouri Politics. Mr. Faughn, how are you, sir?
Doing very good, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, before we get going, tell the audience where they can listen and watch your fine television program and listen to it.
Every Sunday, 9 o'clock on ABC 30 there in St. Louis. tune in. We'll have a full panel this week talking about all the amendments that were just being discussed there. Amendment 5 is extremely hot right now.
And Scott, you texted me yesterday, told me that the F-150 tour will be rolling into St. Louis tomorrow, and that's where I want to start. We've got a pretty contentious congressional race in the 1st District. It is a rematch between Cori Bush and Wesley Bell. Cori Bush, of course, is aligned with the Democratic Socialists of America. Wesley Bell is a progressive, but he is heavily supported by AIPAC. We've seen a lot of these DSA candidates across the country do quite well. Do you expect that from Cori Bush on August 4th?
Well, I'll tell you, I think that Bell came on very strong. People forget Wesley's ability as a politician. I mean, when he beat Bob McCullough, I honestly don't know anybody that really thought he was going to win that race. Bob was a St. Louis institution, and he knocked him off handily. So when he beat Cori, he really came in the front door. I think he might have snuck up on her a little bit. This race is going to be very interesting. I will say this. I think the folks at AIPAC have their work cut out for them in the Democrat Party. More and more Democrats I see. The Republican a little bit, but the Republicans are more just isolationist, period. I see a certain wing of the Democrat Party becoming more and more just straight up anti-Israel. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how that affects Wesley in his reelection. I think he wins because there's a lot of folks that Cori's antics are just a little much, right? They're just a little bit more than they want to put up with from a member of Congress, and it can be a little embarrassing at times. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where Wesley Bell is a professional politician in the code of Bill and Lacey Clay, your guy that actually brings home things and works constituent services. I tend to think Wesley pulls it out, but he definitely has a fight on his hands.
Scott, let me tell you where I think the Cori Bush campaign is making a mistake. If you see a lot of these DSA candidates across the country, they're appealing to the white, college-educated, liberal female. They're appealing to the white males that have the hair buns in their hair. If you look at Cori's campaign, she seems to be mainly focusing on the black community, disgruntled black folks, and campaigning in the black community and not really expanding her base. Your thoughts on that?
I definitely think Cori is a base politician, right? She is the kind that she's not really, I don't think it's her strategy to go out past her base. I think Wesley's strategy is to bring in your former coalition of Democrats. And I'll tell you, I think if you look at that race, in Cori Bush actually probably works better in your Tower Grove area, right? Your super liberal white folks that have kind of picked up protesting as a social club. That's your Cori Bush people. I think Wesley Bell, your voter that votes all the time in the black community, I do think there's something they like about Wesley being more professional that works for them. And I definitely think Cori, focusing on the black community is probably where she should, because I do think, if you got a purple skunk stripe in your hair, you're probably a Cori Bush person from the beginning.
Speaking with Scott Faughn, publisher of the Missouri Times. Scott, you're on the F-150 tour. It rolls into St. Louis tomorrow, but I'm sure you've been around the great state of Missouri. We've got 2 big amendments on the ballot on August 4th, of course, 4 and 5. You've got your finger on the pulse. What are you hearing from the people?
5 is taking up all the oxygen in the room. I'm not sure 4 is competitive enough really to pull enough attention. There's not enough money being spent on 4 yet. But 5 is, everyone's talking about 5. And I think it's been very interesting to see. You've seen some of the Republican Party on there's Republicans, then there's just I'm mad, and so I'm a Republican today because I'm mad. And the folks that are just like pure straight anger, they traffic in anger. Anger is their thing. I think those folks have become a pretty significant part, especially if you're online, Missouri Republicans, and they're against 5. I will tell you this. Look, when you go back to the drawing board, if 5 doesn't succeed, I think there's going to be some things you could look at and say, well, maybe you should have opted out ag and real estate. And maybe you should have been a little more complete with the plan. All that Monday morning quarterbacking. I personally believe in Amendment 5. I think this state is not grown in a generation. And Chris, we got to admit, like if we'd say back in the boot hill talking hogs, dogs, and logs, the fact is The Republicans have been in charge for 25 years. There is no growth. This state has not kept up with the national average in population, GDP, jobs, anything really. Yes, there's been a lot of, they were very successful in abortion until the voters weighed in. And now we're one of the most pro-abortion jurisdictions in the world, not just America. And a toddler can get a newsie with a 10-second waiting period. Other than that, I'm not sure we have as much to show as we'd like. There's been a lot of promises. Frankly, none of them have delivered. The fact of the matter is Missouri needs to compete. And right now, our tax code is not competitive. And you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to even like Amendment 5. The fact is this state is not competitive. The numbers show you. They don't lie. The Cardinals are, a half game out of the wild card. That's just a fact. You could say that's good, that's bad. You could say we should be, shouldn't be. But the fact is they're not in the playoffs right now. And Missouri would not be in the playoffs economically in any league, even the JV league. So I think we have to take steps to do things. I believe in Amendment 5. You're talking about a plan from a governor who's created more jobs than any governor in the history of this state. Mike Keogh has signed the front of more paychecks than anybody else that's lived in that mansion. And the truth is, he has a plan. The thing I don't respect, I respect folks that say, hey, I'm not for this reason, that reason. Fine. It's a big league, complicated thing. People are going to have differing views. The only two things I don't respect are if you look at me and say, this is good enough, this is not good enough for my son to inherit. This economy, this stagnant, failing economy, is not good enough for my son to inherit. And if you tell me I'm against Amendment 5 and I have no plan, that's what you're telling me. And I hear nobody that's in the no club. Number one, I have heard nobody that's created more jobs than Mike Keogh be against this. And I have heard nobody that's against this offer their plan of how they would get the state moving. Chris, it's not good enough. The baby boomer generation failed this country and it's failed this state. I don't intend to have our generation be the folks that hand my son a decrepit, decaying, stagnant state. This is a great chance for us to plant our flag. And you know me, Chris, I am not just grounded the Republican Party.
Sure.
Just because the Republican Party says it doesn't mean I repeat it. If this 10 years from now, if this doesn't work, I'll be the first one to say, hey, we should go back and try something else. But Scott, I believe this is a chance to try something that could work.
Scott, some of the anti-Amendment 4 and 5 ads that are playing on this station and all across the state are very, very deceptive. I mean, it's easily to get confused. You would think that 4 and 5 are things that we support, but they actually don't. Address some of the discrepancies that you're hearing in some of these ads. They're very good, I have to say. They're very well put together, and they're very good at confusing voters.
I've never seen a campaign where both sides didn't feel like the other side's ads were misleading. Do I think there's some misleading things in there? You bet I do. I'm also for Amendment 5, so maybe I'm a little biased. I will tell you where I think this is the part where you have to get guys like you in a room at some point. If this passes, even if this passes, we're in a box, Chris, because we have not effectively communicated to the people of this state that it's stagnant. And part of that is we're asking them to reelect leadership of the Republican Party that, frankly, has been in charge for 2.5 decades. So we're going to have to figure out how we communicate to the people of this state that we have a stagnant economy. It is not good enough, and we can do better. Because right now, the other side capitalizes on the fact that not that many folks see it. Because we haven't lost population like Illinois. People aren't fleeing to get out of Missouri. It's just stagnant. It's almost worse. Because if people were fleeing like they are Illinois, then we can kind of say, okay, there's obviously a problem. Now, they don't, but they're Chicago and they're Cubs fans, and, God help them. As we'd say in the boot, he'll bless their heart. But in reality, it's almost worse to be stagnant than to have people fleeing, because when you're stagnant, you can almost justify doing nothing. And we've justified doing nothing for far too long, and I am very grateful to the governor for taking on the biggest problem. Mike Keogh's life would have been way better if he'd have just kept doing the stagnation that's happened for 2.5 decades. If he had just kept kicking the can down the road, not attacking the real problem, nobody would have blamed him because it's stagnant. It's not that we're going to fall off a cliff. It's just stagnant. He decided to step up and address the real problem in this state, and I admire him a great deal for it. And I'm very grateful that he took this on, and I'm for it. Yes, it's in Missouri. It's near impossible to get a yes. It is very hard. If you have funded opposition, it's very hard. I do think when we sit down, there's going to be things from every campaign you could learn. There's probably a few from this one that folks could learn. But at the end of the day, Chris, I'm not give up on this. I am very bullish on Amendment 5. And again, I go back to, if you're against Amendment 5, fine. I respect folks that are against Amendment 5. Who's to say I'm right? What's your idea? Very easy to sit down and tear down an idea. Very easy to throw out things and say, no, no, no. What is your idea to move this state forward? Because do you really want to look your sons and daughters in the face and say stagnation is good enough because I didn't want to risk something? Come on. I actually think at the end of the day, I've heard all the prognostications. I don't really believe any of them. I think roughly Missourians will be taxed about the same on Amendment 5. I think what we're betting on is ourselves, that if we put ourselves in a competitive economy, Missourians can compete with anybody. Right now, we've chosen to shackle ourselves with this 1930s tax system that doesn't give our companies a chance to compete. I have 49 employees. I would like to have more. You know why I don't have the 50th? The government. Do you know why I don't have more? The state government. We need to give ourselves the chance to compete. And the fact of the matter is, you're going to be taxed roughly the same. Or this. Some people say you're going to come out ahead. I don't know. Probably it's going to be so marginal, depending on the year and what you buy and what you make. It's probably going to be negligible if you took a 5-year average. I'm not a big believer. I'm not going to come here and sell you some Pollyanna story. I think we have to really adultly, soberly look at the facts. We're not competitive, and we got to become competitive. And Amendment 5 is a chance for us to actually compete with other states. And I think you put hardworking old boys from Missouri to work, I like our chances.
Scott, being on a radio station, we hear a lot of commercials, especially during the political season. One commercial that we're hearing often and it's getting a lot of attention is in the SD10 race between Trisha Burns and Mike Deering. One of the commercials accuses Trisha Byrne of calling a suicide prevention hotline and claiming she had a gun to her head and was about to shoot herself. Can you give us some context on that whole situation? And if you had a handicap, who would you say is leading or losing in that race?
Well, I do remember very well. We covered it at the Missouri Times that there was there's right now a texting kind of chatbot thing. If you're suicidal, you can text this number, and it's kind of, I think it's some AI or something. It's not particularly. I guess I would thought, I've seen the ads and stuff for it. Mm-hmm. I guess I thought a person texted you back and tried to talk you out of suicide, but it's not. It's a text system, and Trisha didn't really think that was very good. So the person, one of the vendors that runs it, was sitting there with her, and she text messaged it. Now, should she have done that? Probably not. It was not something very smart to do, and I think she didn't understand all the things that would happen. I don't think she intentionally caused the firestorm that ultimately came from it. And I think she thought because the vendor that ran the software was in the room, that it was something okay to do. Now, obviously, as I say that out loud, that's not a very smart thing to do. Do I think she was nefariously trying to tie up the cops? Probably not. But no, it wasn't a very good thing to do. And maybe the quote that if the quote from the ad I heard when I was on hold is correct, well, that's, she'd probably like to have that one back. But I think you have two kind of different views. You have Mike Deering, the head of the Cattlemen's Association, will do very well in the western part of the district. Trisha Burns is from St. Charles County. She'll probably do pretty well in her area. And it's kind of different views. Trisha Burns is very much a trial attorney person. Mike Deering is very much a cattleman person. He's probably not for people getting sued all the time. She's going to probably, want to foster a climate to where it's a little bit easier to sue folks. He has a more rural view. She probably has a more urban view. They're different. They're different in stylistics, but that's really, this is a race where they're both very pro-life. They're both very pro-gun. I assume they'll both want to support tax cuts. I see it as two similar candidates from two different parts of the state. If I had to give it a handicap, I would give Mike Deering a marginal advantage right now. But certainly that race is going to be competitive, and I suspect it's competitive right down to the wire a week from Tuesday.
And before we let you go, as I said, the F-150 tour will be rolling into St. Louis. Who are you going to have in the truck with you?
I believe we're going to have Eric Schmidt in the truck with us, and Wagner. We're going to have Brian Williams. We're going to have your prosecuting attorney candidate. I'm going to text my buddy Steve Butts, Gina Midden. I'd like to see John Bowman, Rachel Prouty. If you can't have a good time talking to Rachel Prouty, it's on you. So we're going to be in St. Louis a couple of days. I'm going to try to get Marshak from Jeffco on. He's always a good time. Tim Whitney, the new county executive on there, will be fun. I'm going to come 50, when I head back Saturday, so maybe I can see Shots. Maybe I can go down to Sullivan Bowl and find what Dave Shots is up to these days. That's a few of them. We'll hit a few more, but we always have a good time on the F-150 tour. But we'll be all over the metro area Friday, Saturday, getting to visit with everybody. You'll be able to see it all on our social media feeds. We'll have a big post of all of it, and I write a little summation of what went on. So if you're listening, you want to be on the F-150 tour, shoot me a text message. I'm the easiest guy in Missouri to find. You can find me at any bar with a Bud Light or text me at 573-429-5770. We'd love to visit with you.
See, I was right there with you till you said Bud Light. But anyway, that is media mogul Scott Faughn, publisher of the Missouri Times and host of This Week in Missouri Politics. On X, he's at Scott Faughn. Scott, safe travels tomorrow, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, buddy. I hope you hope you make it through. I can't imagine what your phone's like this time of year. I hope you get to a week from Tuesday with one piece and not too far over your bill.
I just don't want all that crap coming to my mailbox. I'm tired of the political mailers.
You're going to have to brick it like we did in the cartoons.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, Scott.
See you, buddy.
All right. Next, we're going to speak with Jay Town. He's a legal analyst, for Newsmax. We're going to talk to him about the confirmation vote for Todd Blanche and the referral to the Justice Department of Special Counsel Jack Smith. Listen to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Our milder stretch is coming to an end, increasing cloud cover overnight, temperatures falling into the 60s, and then we're watching Friday for some scattered showers and the occasional rumble of thunder. With this, it keeps our high temperature near 79 degrees. The rain is a bit heavier overnight Friday into Saturday. When all is said and done, many of us will see around a half inch of rain, but there will be some pockets of 1 to 2 inches possible. Saturday cranks up the heat, and then we have a triple-digit heat index in the forecast on Sunday. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Have you heard those ads claiming Amendment 4 stops conservative amendments?
That's not true. It actually stops a couple big cities from pushing radical ideas into our Constitution. Remember 2024? Only 8 out of 114 counties voted to allow transgender surgeries on children.
That's terrifying. We can't let just a handful of counties rule the whole state.
Exactly. Amendment 4 requires broad statewide support and keeps foreign money out of our elections. Vote yes on 4 this August 4th.
Paid for by Freedom Principal MO, Missouri First PAC. Kate Sickles, Treasurer.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together, we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health. I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Tired of settling for generic fishing gear?
Say hello to Bullseye Bait and Tackle, O'Fallon's one-stop shop for serious anglers. Live bait, premium tackle, rods, reels, and an unbeatable selection of lures from top brands like Megabass, Zoom, and Berkley. Whether you're after bass, catfish, crappie, or bluegill, they've got the gear to help you land the big one. Plus, their expert team, led by Mark and Liz, provides rod and reel repair services. Bullseye Bait and Tackle, 266 Fort Zumwalt Square, or at bullseyebaitandtackle.net.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The president spoke about this directly yesterday. His patience is running out. He wants to see as much of the Save America passed as possible by the August recess. He knows that's what the American people want to see passed. He was just traveling on the road yesterday, spoke about this, and there was a very loud applause from the people in the audience, the everyday Americans, because voter ID is common sense. They want proof of citizenship in our elections.
528 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. And on the line with us is Jay Town. He is a legal analyst for Newsmax. Jay, how are you, my friend?
I am great. I'm so glad to be on with you guys. And before we get started, I just want to say that my friend Catherine Hanaway is doing an excellent job as your Attorney General in that great state.
We agree. I've known her, me and Tim have both known her a long time, and she is doing a fantastic job. All right, Jay, you hear talking about the SAVE Act. The Democrats say that if it was enacted, it couldn't affect the 2026 midterm elections. We had the recent story in New Jersey that 6,600 non-citizens voted or were registered in their elections. 400 possibly voted. I couldn't think of a better case for the SAVE Act than that incident.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the thing that never happened 6,600 times in the state of New Jersey, where the Democrats don't have to cheat to win, right? That's a deep, deep blue state. And, 287,000 illegal immigrants are on the voter rolls in this country in just 4 states, right? Add 6,600 to that. We still have, 45 other states, if you include New Jersey, 45 other states, we don't even have their voter rolls. One of those states is California, right? Who just, their illegal immigrants are given CDLs in California, much less a driver's license. That's the least we can do, folks. So it is the Save America Act, and I'll say this. It is no argument to say that it won't impact, passing the Save America Act will not impact the 2026 general election. Who cares? That's not a reason to vote against it. It's certainly not. I mean, I don't believe that's true either, by the way. But who cares? Pass it. Make it a great law, right? Okay. I mean, now's the best time to pass it because it won't impact your cheating this time. But it is frankly the soft racism of low expectations to say that people of color or women or married women, they can't possibly go get ID so that they can vote, right? And well, I don't know, 160 million people voted in the last presidential election. I think we're figuring it out.
I agree. Jay, the war with Iran seems to be ramping up. The president has threatened to bomb their infrastructure for every ship that Iran targets in the Strait of Hormuz. Yesterday, there was a couple of war powers resolutions, one in the House, one in the Senate. The one in the House did pass. 4 Republicans joined the Democrats to pass that. It failed in the Senate, 47-49. Is this the best time to be passing war powers resolution while we're right in the middle of a war?
Well, it's just all so performative, right? I mean, you know what? Okay, pass your resolution. Then what are you going to do? You're going to go get an injunction from Jeb Boasberg in the D.C. Circuit and have him turn all the planes around and the boats and the missiles and the troops. And I mean, you know what? Article 2 means something in this country now. And part of that, the reason why is, and I don't even want to talk about Todd, but the DOJ has fought all of these injunctions all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has finally gotten rid of Humphrey's executor and all these other sort of overreaches that was either restraining the executive branch or in some cases where the executive branch was way more powerful than they should have been. The president can put his team on the field. He can put his boats in the Persian Gulf or the Gulf of Oman or in the Strait of Hormuz, and he's going to do it. And whatever Congress is doing, they have like 10 other things they could focus on, and they're not. It's not an impressive. There's some really impressive people. I think Speaker Johnson, for instance. I think Schmidt and Hawley. They're very impressive. I could name countless others. Katie Britt, but their performance hasn't been super impressive, and that starts with John Thune in the Senate.
We're speaking with Jay Town, legal analyst for Newsmax. Bring me up to speed, Jay. I'm not sure if Todd Blanche has been voted out of the Judiciary Committee yet. I know that Senators Cornyn and Tillis, who are lame ducks because they lost their primaries, were hedging on whether they were going to vote for him or not. Has that vote been taken yet? And your overall thoughts on Todd Blanche?
So there was a hearing today. I wouldn't call it a hearing as much as it was just public comments from the Judiciary Committee weighing Todd Blanche's nomination. And I'll look it up while we're talking about Todd. But I'll say this. I've known Todd for a while now. He's an excellent dag. If you've ever spent any time with him, or if you just watch the interactions with the senators, very calm. He has good demeanor. He speaks freely, but he's not, boisterous. I think Pam Bondi was a little bit more aggressive, right, and came with binders full of dirt. Todd doesn't do that. He doesn't need notes. He's a brilliant lawyer. He's been on both sides. He's the kind of guy you want as an attorney general of the United States, and I think he's done a good job. If for any other reason than that he's gone back to fundamentals of lowering crime by increasing prosecutions, which is exactly what has happened. 100,000 indictments since he's been the DAG and the acting AG, and murder's down 125-year low. Robbery's down 25%. Carjackings are down 34%. I mean, there's how many thousands of kids have been returned to their families that were victims of sexual trafficking or human trafficking. So he's doing a great job, not to mention the injunction hell they were in all of 2025, right, across the country with these district court judges. His team fought all of that, and now they're focusing on the fundamentals. He's the guy I want for the job. I'm on the record saying it. I'll keep saying it until they vote.
Jay, Budget Reconciliation 3.0 passed yesterday in the House, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune says that he's not interested in passing Reconciliation 3.0. He is more concerned on trying to make sure that we don't have a government shutdown on October 1st. One of the reasons that he gives, he says there aren't enough votes in the Senate to pass that, and if it does pass, he is worried about the Democrats adding amendments onto this bill that could make some of his more vulnerable members more vulnerable. This is the type of thing that has a lot of us in the heartland and in the base upset when we see things that are the president's priorities and Republicans' priorities being stopped by Republican leadership.
Yeah, well, you know what, John Thune, you got 53 senators. Why don't you whip them up before we start getting things to the floor, right? I mean, you're in charge of the Republican. You're in charge of the Senate, but you're also in charge of all the Republicans in the Senate. Get your house in order. Get these 50. Get Tillis and whoever else, and Lisa Murkowski, and certainly those people are getting something in the NDAA in this reconciliation bill, right? Maybe Alaska doesn't need any more, billions of dollars for its bases there, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe we can fly those missions from Minot, North Dakota. Right, Russia's over in Ukraine. They're not coming over into Alaska, so maybe we can handle that from the coast. I don't know, but I mean, there has to be I don't know. I'm not really sure how John Thune survives being. I mean, maybe he wants to be Senate Minority Leader more. I don't know, but it's not been impressive. It just hasn't, and I like him. He's a really good guy, smart guy, right? He's fit. He's a good ambassador for Republicans. He looks good. He's a handsome fella, but he's not leading at all. And look, Mitch McConnell wasn't really either. There's this normal order in the Senate that I think we're all sick of. You guys make up rules to restrain yourselves that aren't in the Constitution. They're not in Article 1. And then you go on TV and say, well, we're constrained by these rules that we made up that nobody ever heard of before. So we're not just going to make people filibuster normally. We're going to increase it to 60, not 50 plus 1. And that way we don't have to sit in here and we go home on Thursdays and raise money.
Jay, I want to ask you about the news today that Representative Jim Jordan has referred former Special Counsel Jack Smith to the Justice Department for an investigation of perjury. This stems back to the Special Counsel testifying in a House committee. He said that he didn't know that, or he didn't say that, well, let me put it this way. There were two subpoenas. One subpoena was for the metadata. The other subpoena was for the contents of this information. He is saying that he was only asked about the first subpoena regarding the content data, not about the second, and so that exonerates him from potentially lying to Congress. You're a legal analyst. Are you buying that explanation from his lawyers?
Well, I'm not buying. I mean, it's from his lawyers, remember, so it's not from Todd Blanche. So this isn't an inconsistent statement out of Todd, or not Todd Blanche, but Jack Smith. But what I will say is the videos that I've seen anyway of the deposition of Jack Smith from last year, he is specifically asked, did you receive the contents of text messages from members of Congress? And he said no. Now, I'm not sure how any context of that question could be framed any differently. It wasn't based on this subpoena or in this particular month. It was just a general question, and he answered no. And here's the thing that really matters, and this is why all of this matters. The 44 Senate and House members that had their text messages read, 13 others had all their call data, their pen register data, and God knows what else. When you are after the President of the United States, Donald Trump, the former president at the time, right, in a criminal investigation, all of the abuses of Jack Smith, of all these elected officials, didn't matter, because if I can get Trump with their evidence, right, or maybe I can use it as fruits of a poisonous tree and use those text messages to put into a search warrant or even leak to the public so that people start forming opinions about Trump, the only person withstanding to contest the speech and debate clause of the privacy laws and rules surrounding text messages and things like that of members of Congress is those members of Congress, not Donald Trump. So in his prosecution, he can't exclude them based on that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have a right to, because he has no standing. So who cares if we violate their rights? Because we're after that guy. And that just tells you all you need to know about Jack Smith is he was not after justice. He was not just trying to call balls and strikes and just see where the facts took him and apply the law. He was after Trump. Garland was after Trump. Lisa Monaco was after Trump at all costs. And you saw it happen across the country, and especially to include Jack Smith's two prosecutions of the president. He's an illegitimately appointed special counsel by a weakling in Merrick Garland. And,
of course, Josh Hawley, our own senator, his information was caught up in that investigation as well. Before we close out here, Jay, I want to ask you about the situation in Maine. You almost, and I say almost, have to feel sorry for the Maine Democrats. They had their Graham Plattner situation. They got rid of him. They've settled on Troy Jackson. He's the former Senate leader up there. One of my colleagues said on NBC Meet the Press, he said that the Democrats have traded a Nazi for a guy with anger issues. Now CNN is reporting they've dug up questionnaires that show that in 2010, he said abortion should never be legal. Poor Democrats in Maine.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you don't let the democratic process be transparent. This is what happens when you don't have fulsome debate, right? And you bring in candidates. I mean, think about the guy up there who wore a dress on stage and said, "I'm a right." I mean, like Maine, that was one of your 6 candidates for Senate, right? And I'm not going to say it could happen anywhere because I have friends in Missouri and Alabama that would disagree, right? It's not who's running for the Republican ticket in the state of Alabama. And Graham Plattner, look, the Democrats would not go on record and say they didn't want the guy. It wasn't until someone finally accused him of rape that they then distanced and pressured him to drop out of the race. But that's how weak the Democrats are in Maine. The Democrat Party writ large has been taken over by extremists, and they are having a very difficult time because the extremists are kind of running things and they're generating all the energy. So if you take a mainstream sort of candidate and put them in front of those people, they're going to get booed off stage. But those are the types of people that can get elected and do great things, right? But that's just not what we're seeing out of Democrats across the country. And that's why you would let Bernie Sanders and AOC be in charge of your political party. This is exactly what's going to happen. My God, they would love to go back to Bill Clinton for 19. My God.
Yeah, exactly. Jay, I also occasionally make appearances on Newsmax on their weekend shows. Do you have any scheduled appearances coming up on Newsmax?
Oh, geez. A lot of times I don't get scheduled till the day of. I'm on about 3 times a day. But you can follow me at J-Town, Alabama, and I usually post that I'm going on, or I post the clips after I get them. So, I'll be looking for you too, and maybe we can get partnered up together. That'd be a lot of fun.
Sounds good. That's J-Town, legal analyst for Newsmax on X. He's at J-Town, Alabama. Jay, thank you so much for your time. It's been an enjoyable conversation.
Have me back. I loved it. Thanks.
All right. 5:43 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and we're going to ask, is Waymo safe? We've had discussions about that, and I've got some statistics here that show if it is or not safe. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Our milder stretch is coming to an end, increasing cloud cover overnight, temperatures falling into the 60s, and then we're watching Friday for some scattered showers and the occasional rumble of thunder. With this, it keeps our high temperature near 79 degrees. The rain is a bit heavier overnight Friday into Saturday. When all is said and done, many of us will see around a ½ inch of rain, but there will be some pockets of 1 to 2 inches possible. Saturday cranks up the heat, and then we have a triple-digit heat index in the forecast on Sunday. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup. Sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your Politicians Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people. And the Politicians Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Ford 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the Politicians Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
JC's Wayback Machine.
You knew him as Super Dave. You knew him as Marty Funkhauser on Curb. It's Bob Einstein as this week's A-List Interview of the Week. The Moody Blues performed at Riverport this week in 1993 with the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. We'll go all the way back to '67 to talk about their groundbreaking album, Days of Future Past. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9 on News Talk STL.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, it's Columbo reminding you that when the fish are biting, gear up with the best at Bluff City Outdoors. They have a huge selection of all the gear you need for your next trip on the water, including great products from all the top brands in the industry like Mega Bass, Mad Cats, Penn, and more. Plus, join us every Saturday at 11 a.m. on the Bluff City Outdoors Show for great conversation and the local fishing report. Open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at BluffCityOutdoors.com.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
The Secret Service is ramping up security measures ahead of this Friday's rescheduled White House Correspondents' Dinner. You may remember the event was abruptly canceled after officials say a gunman, 31-year-old Cole Allen, charged through security to allegedly assassinate President Trump. This morning, the Secret Service held a security briefing ahead of the event at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel. The White House Correspondents Association plans on presenting a special award to the Secret Service officer who was shot, Victor Gonzalez.
5:48 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and all eyes, of course, will be on the rescheduled White House Correspondents' Dinner. I hate that it was canceled because the president had built it up, that he had some real zingers lined up for that event. You know, when that is a type of event where you're kind of roasted and you have comedians, and it's kind of a lighthearted affair for politics, for Washington, D.C. So we'll be able to hear all of the jokes that the president had scheduled for the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'm sure a lot of those jokes will be pointed at the media and should be very interesting, must-see TV. White House Correspondents' Dinner rescheduled for Friday.
That dinner was in April, and I bet Trump had all of his Colbert jokes just ready to go. And Colbert's episode was his last one was in May, so now he's just got to reuse them. And
I
it's
like
gonna be
to
awkward.
hear him again. Just say them anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
why not?
I'm sure he'll have a lot of fans there, and I'm sure he probably will be watching. Joel, we talked about Waymo before. I think I don't know if it was this session or the previous beginning of the legislative session. We had someone. I think it was the AFP director from Missouri who is supportive of Waymo, and I think there was a bill to try to legislate having them legal here in Missouri. I don't think it passed. Would you take a Waymo, and have you ever taken a Waymo?
I've never been in a city that had a Waymo, and it was this session where they needed it to get passed.
Yeah.
And since it's on the back burner, you know, they have to wait till next session. But you'll still see the Waymo cars around studying the streets with someone inside. We just had that great story of California where these teenagers were shooting guns and drinking alcohol in the back of a Waymo, and they just disabled the car, and the cops came and arrested them. So maybe that's another way to get dumb teenagers arrested.
And they're so stupid. They thought the car malfunctioned. They didn't know that they did the kill switch intentionally so that we can catch you.
Yeah, they were talking to them directly through the Waymo speaker, and it said, "You're not locked in, but please stay in the car." So it wasn't actually a kidnapping.
I told you I had a chance when Becky and I were in Dallas a few months ago. I had a chance to take a Waymo. I called Uber, and Waymo was one of the options. And it had a little countdown. It gave me 1 minute to decide if I wanted to just wait for a regular Uber or if I wanted to take the Waymo. I thought about it, Joy. I had about 6 seconds left. And I just said, nah, I'll just wait for the Uber. I'm not ready to give up that type of control yet, for me personally.
Yeah, I would definitely do it. I mean, I spent my whole childhood in a car in the back seat, not knowing where we were going. Yeah, I was like time travel. You just wake up somewhere else. I guess it would be kind of like that.
An independent study finds Waymo's robo-taxis are involved in fewer crashes than human drivers. Of course, that's a key milestone for earning public trust. Researchers compared crash rates of human-driven cars and Waymo robo-taxis in San Francisco, Phoenix, Los Angeles, and Austin. Those are 4 cities where the robo-taxis are prevalent. Waymo vehicles had 68% fewer police reportable crashes per mile traveled than human drivers in those cities. And Waymo had 85% fewer single vehicle crashes than human drivers. So according to this study, Waymo is quite safe, and hopefully next legislative session that they'll be legal here in Missouri. I'm sure the Uber drivers and taxi cabs won't be thrilled about that, but it's technology. It's here.
Me and David Stokes are hoping they have some sort of horsey app so we can just order a horsey to come pick us up and take us where we want to go. I want to feel something alive between my legs taking me wherever I need to go.
You wouldn't do the horsey app in the winter, though.
Why not? I don't mind. Definitely if they can get up and down the streets when they're not plowed because Kara Spencer can't get through.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Horses probably can get through the snow if the streets aren't plowed. Well, those of you that listen to the show often know that my partner, Speaker Tim Jones, is a huge golf fan. He plays golf himself. He talks about the different tournaments that are happening over the weekend when we come in on Monday. Did you know, Joy, there's actually a lottery involved in getting tickets for the Masters? That lottery was held recently. It says about 2 million people apply for Masters tickets for each tournament day. Applicants have a 55% chance, roughly 1 in 182 of being selected, according to bookies.com. Those odds are better odds than being struck by lightning or winning the lottery. 2 million people apply for tickets to the Masters for every single tournament day. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can relate. Every August 1st, I have it in my calendar to apply for the ticket lottery for Saturday Night Live. I've always wanted to see the show live, and you have through all of August, and then they close it August 31st. Yeah. And I've been submitting for only the past 2 years, so I'm just going to keep trying until they cancel the show. When Lorne Michaels dies, maybe I'll get a ticket to his funeral.
I would suspect, and you can't really tell by watching on television, that studio audience doesn't look like it's a lot of people. What, a couple of hundred people maybe?
It's got to be. And then they do it twice because they do the warm-ups, you know, the practice version before that, and then they have the live. I wouldn't mind. I'd go to either one because you actually get more sketches when you go to the practice one that they do at, you know, a couple hours before.
It's probably a bucket list item for me to go to Saturday night live taping. I could tell you, I remember when Saturday Night Live first started. I've told this story here on the show. I think 1975 was its first year, and I remember when they were advertising for the show. And they were talking about Saturday Night Live with the Saturday Night Live players, whatever they call them. And I was like, what does that mean? And I was only like 8 or 9 years old, so I could never stay up late enough to watch Saturday Night Live. And it's amazing. That show has been on 50-plus years.
I did go to New York City to see a Daily Show taping once, so that was a lot of fun to be on a live show. I know that you've taken a tour of a TV studio audience. Did you see anything taped while you were there?
No, that was a story when I was 9 years old. We went to Burbank Studios. We went to The Tonight Show, and Johnny Carson was off that week, and singer John Davidson was subbing in for him. I'll never forget it. And so we went down into the audience. John Davidson was rehearsing on stage. And the tour guide says, "Hi, maybe John will come over and say hello to us." And so she started approaching him, and he turned his back. I will never forget that. I've never been a fan of his since then.
Threw out your John Davidson lunchbox as soon as you got home.
Exactly. Yeah, he turned his back, man. What? Come on. That's just wrong. Is he still alive?
He was probably really nervous. He didn't want to shake hands with someone that was all clammy and sweaty.
We didn't want to shake his hands. She just wanted him to like, hey, these are tourists. Come over and say hello to them. You know, take 2 minutes out of your time, and then you can go back to rehearsing.
I'll find out if he's dead. I'll send this tape to his next of kin so they know to apologize to you.
I've asked Becky, is she a relative? Because, you know, Becky's maiden name is Davidson. She says there's no relation.
Just hating anyone with that last name.
Exactly. Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. He, of course, was got in a little trouble with the voting machine deal there back in 2020. Joey, he is running for Minnesota governor. He has been endorsed by President Trump, but there's one little problem with his campaign, though, that may hurt him. He has not registered to vote in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, he's like a felon, isn't he?
No, he just never registered. I'm like, so you're running for governor, but you can't vote for yourself.
I know part of his story was that he was a tiny bit of a crackhead, so I didn't know if that somehow made him ineligible.
Did I ever tell you when we were at the other station, when Tony and I had our weekend show, we actually interviewed him?
My God, you guys got all the huge names.
We interviewed Mike Lindell, and that's when I first learned that he was a crackhead at one time. I had no idea. He told the story about it.
I mean, he's an honest guy. Maybe he will be a good politician up there.
Yeah, maybe a little too honest. Maybe he can give all the Minnesota voters, if you vote for me, you get a free pillow.
Hey, why not?
Do you ever see his ads on TV anymore, or is he just...
Where have they been? Yeah, I guess he got sued out of existence or something with the voting machine stuff.
Don't see much Mike Lindell stuff anymore. All right, that is the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show for this July 23rd, Thursday edition. Coming up next is Larry Connors USA. The story behind the story... when Larry was a bull rider. Wow, I keep telling you, he's the most interesting man in the world. Can't wait to hear that story. You've been listening to 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m.